I kicked out my stepson because I caught him molesting my dog. Throwaway because I don't want this on my main and really need to rant. I'm his stepdad. I married his mom 6 years ago and he's 19 now. He's not on the street, he's with his birth father. I've had my dog Mandy for 8 years. I've had her since she was a puppy and she's been in my life longer than my wife. I do care about my stepson, but he's a pretty effed up kid and has made things hard on me and his mom for years. He dropped out of school, refuses to get a job or a driver's license and sits up in his room all day playing games and jerks off, never cleans anything, constantly mouths off to me and his mom and acts out. I've always tried to be a good role model for him and tried to bond with him over the years, but it never works out. He's been in therapy, but that hasn't helped, and now that he's an adult I can't really force him to go anymore. Things have been tense for a long time because of him. We've been trying to get him to get it together to no avail for years now. Last Thursday I caught him touching Mandy inappropriately with his pants down. I obviously didn't take that well. It quickly escalated into me yelling at him, and my wife heard the noise and she started crying when I told her what was going on. I told him to go to his room and start packing essentials. I told my wife he's no longer welcome in my house. She agreed, at the very least we needed a break. His dad lives nearby, and so after more prodding he packed some essentials while I called his dad. His dad isn't a bad guy necessarily, and he and I have tried to help the kid as best we can, and we try to get along just for his sake, even though my wife's marriage to him obviously went up in smoke. I told him what was going on and told him I can't have him in my house right now. He was speechless and I could tell it really shook him. I asked if he wouldn't mind him living there for a while. He said it wouldn't be a problem and that he'd be ready to talk strategy with my wife and I on what our next steps are. I told him if he needed money I'd give it to him, and he declined and apologized for the kid's behavior and started crying. I told him it's not his fault and that he's sick, but as bad as I feel for him I can't be around him right now. My wife took him to his dad's and I took Mandy to an emergency vet clinic to make sure she was okay. Unfortunately it gets worse. The vet checked her out after I told him what was going on and he told me she's not hurt now but has scarring and signs of long-term abuse. I broke down right there in the vet's office and started crying. I couldn't believe he would do something like that with her, not just once but probably several times. I took Mandy home and my wife and I talked for hours about what to do. We've contacted a psychiatrist and talked with his dad, and he's going to take him there and make sure he gets the help he needs. This last week has been hell, and I told my wife I don't know if I can ever forgive him for what he did, and she said she's having a hard time with it too. We're also looking at a facility for my stepson to go to for professional help full time. We've been giving Mandy lots of love, attention and treats, so hopefully she can move past all of this too. It's so upsetting and disgusting. For a week now I've constantly felt sick to my stomach about how this has been happening in my house without me knowing. I have cried probably every day since it happened. I just don't see the light at the end of the tunnel right now. Update: my wife and I have been talking about this all week, and we talked about it some more, and we've agreed the best thing we can do for him is to press charges and try to get him institutionalized with professionals to help rehabilitate him. His birth father talked with us about it and agreed this is the right thing to do. Thank you to everyone for all of the love and support for my wife, Mandy, and myself. It helps more than you think. Mandy seems to be doing okay. She actually seems happier and more carefree without my stepson around, which is understandable. We've been spoiling her rotten to make her as happy as she can be. My wife and I are also seeking a therapist, as honestly neither of us have been handling this very well. I have not spoken to my stepson at all since he left. My wife can't bring herself to talk to him either. His dad said he's pretty much just making sure he's eating, but he doesn't really know what to say to him either. He's been taking it really hard, especially since he's living with him full time now and seeing how he lives. The whole situation is just a mess.